Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first Fundraising in 5 video segment, in which the Kellogg School Center for Nonprofit Management and CCS Fundraising discuss best practices for fundraising as nonprofit organizations continue to manage the impact of COVID-19 and pivot their thinking towards the future. My name is Elise Madrick-Townsend, and I'm the Senior Program Administrator for the Kellogg School Center for Nonprofit Management, and I am joined by Lindsay Marcinak, Managing Director from CCS Fundraising. Today, Lindsay and I are discussing how to create engaged leadership. So Lindsay, let's dive in. We continue to hear from our Kellogg nonprofit participants about COVID-19 impacting how senior staff are thinking about engaging their boards in their fundraising efforts during this time. What are some of those conversations looking like in your work?
We're hearing a lot of the same themes, and it's important during this time to remember what is a tried and true principle versus what are new ideas or areas to react to. So board member roles and responsibilities are tried and true, and during this time, it's so important to ensure that board members stay true to those roles. If anything, amplify those roles in response to the organization's outreach and fundraising.
I completely agree with you. And the way that we have thought about it at Kellogg is by simply reminding ourselves of some of those core responsibilities for board members. A few that come to mind are simply making a contribution. Now more than ever, board members need to be making those meaningful contributions, especially as those funding streams will continue to change. Number two, they need to serve as ambassadors for their organizations. Board members really do make great fundraisers. They hold a very strong voice within their organizations, and also they bring that high level of credibility to the solicitation process. And third, board members, I think, need to be fully engaged right now. In addition to that contribution and also being an ambassador, they need to be motivating other board members to give and also participating in those events. Right now, those are virtual events. Otherwise, if they are not getting involved, why would anyone else?
That's so true. And in fact, in some cases, we're seeing stronger board participation during this time because attending meetings through a virtual format is actually easier than attending an in-person meeting where more logistics are involved, and board members can be more engaged. And in terms of being engaged, if we take a step back, it's really important to remember that board members cannot be fully engaged if they're not brought up to speed. So it's so important for staff leaders to continuously communicate with board members and to ensure that you're bringing your board members up to speed. A simple phone call can go a very long way. And of course, we'll be talking a lot more next week about communication to different audiences. But as you think about this moving ahead, it's important to start with your key supporters, your insiders, and those are your board members.
And Lindsay, in thinking about the staff preparing the board members with those specific messages, it makes me think of one other point for board members, which is just that key collaboration and coordination with staff to steward new and recent donors. This takes thoughtfully developing plans for board members to reach out and engage those donors.
That's right. CCS did a recent fundraising survey at the end of April, beginning of May, to really take the pulse of the current climate for fundraising across the country, across all sectors. And in that survey, we learned that despite a very uncertain environment, people are focused on making that human connection, number one. And number two, people are interested in investing or helping where they can. And so knowing those two pieces, we're really encouraging organizations to consider how board members can be part of stewarding donors, making that human connection, and where appropriate, where board members can help set the tone for different examples and ways of supporting an organization during this time.
And Lindsay, that partnership is so key. And I believe board members must also start helping to think about the future in terms of revising fundraising goals, especially in light of the changing circumstances of donors and prospects. I think we've already seen a great deal of change in the tactics organizations are using, and I think we can expect to see even more change to come.
That's right. And when strategies change, when planning changes, it's so important to seek advice from your board members and other key leaders during this time to help create as informed a plan, even if it's a dynamic plan, as possible.
So Lindsay, I think it's safe to say that as we all look to the future of fundraising, it is critically important that nonprofit leadership, both board and staff, are engaged leaders.
Engaged leaders do work in strong partnership. You're so right.
And that's it for this week's Fundraising in 5. Tune in next Monday as we discuss compelling messaging. Until then, take care, everyone.